Alright guys, hope you're all doing well. This is Lucas and I am back to you today and we'll be doing my Season 2 predictions slash Q&A slash review for Season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I am back from about 2 weeks and a half of travel in Italy, which was absolutely beautiful, and we go there every year, but every year we discover something new, and this year was absolutely great. I haven't been in front of the camera for a long while, as you can guess, so it's kind of weird for me right now, but hopefully it will get better, and I'm sure it will. But anyways, you guys have made it through the season now. Episode 21 and 22 in 3 parts are up, so make sure to check those out before seeing this review if you haven't seen them yet. We have a lot to talk about and a lot to cover, and I think the way I'll go about it is talk about episode 21 and 22 first as a short review. And then we'll talk about the season as a whole. Then I think I'll do my Q&A and I have a few predictions afterwards. So let's go right ahead. So in the season final we had a 2-parter. We started with episode 21, and 21 was kind of slow in some ways, and it also set up episode 22, which was really awesome. But 21 had a particularity. It was more, it revolved a lot around Angel and his backstory, and it was a really awesome episode. I think we did learn a lot about him, and especially how he came to learn about Buffy, how he kind of got in touch with her and started to be the Angel that we know, and gave us a lot of insights about his life back in the days, a backstory about Drusilla as well, which was really awesome. It set up this demon which would swallow the entire world, which is pretty crazy, but as usual Buffy's gonna save the world. And then a lot of fights, a lot of action. We lost Kendra, Willow was injured, Xander also, and Giles was captured, and then episode 22 was the continuation of that, the how they did it. We've had the greatest surprise yet, in my opinion. It is Spike teaming up with Buffy. And of course I knew everything that was gonna happen from there. I knew Angel was going to die. I knew that, you know, knew that Spike would go with Buffy. I kind of expected that. That was a lie. But yeah, a lot of good surprises, a lot of action. Spike came around and everything worked out for the gang except for Angel, which died right after having his soul restored, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about that, and we have a lot more grounds to cover, and your answers, your questions for the Q&A have been really good, so I can't wait to answer those. As for the season as a whole, we've had in my opinion, a way better season than season 1. Things became real, things became more serious. We've had a lot more of character development for just about everyone. Of course, the real standout surprise of the season is obviously Angel being turned into a monster again, and it really changed the dynamic of the show. Really awesome way. I think a lot of episodes that followed were great because of that kind of backbone of Angel being against Buffy, which is really original considering we've always known Angel as being on Buffy's side, and it was all the more cruel to find out just after Buffy slept with him. And Xander and Cordelia were also a really important part of the season, and they got together, and as you know, I loved them. Partly because they're so kind of estranged and they're not supposed to work, and because they started up and hating each other, which I think is glorious. I also noticed some tensions between Buffy and Xander by the end of the season. They didn't take it anywhere, which surprised me. I thought we'd have a little something to go on, but I definitely noticed that something was there. I can't believe that I forgot to talk about this, but this season introduced us to Spike, a villain about 40 times better than the previous one. He's fun, he's awesome, he's badass, he's got the wits, he's got the charms, he's got everything. He was a really menacing presence, although him combined with Angel made his campaign against Buffy all the more dangerous. I would argue personally that the second half of the season is far superior than the first half. The first half had a lot of filler. It kind of introduced us to other things and kind of developed more characters. I'm gonna have to take my phone to tell you about a few things if I forgot to talk about. Well, let's just go through the best list. Standout episodes. I think episode 17 comes to mind. It had kind of like an emotional kind of oomph to it. It kind of set up the stakes for Angel being a true evil character. It killed off Jenny, which was our first major character death. It turned the show around to something a little bit more serious, a little bit more grounded, and a little bit more real. Kind of a little bit more dramatic, which the show sort of lacked. I don't want to say it entirely lacked that dimension, but season 2 brought that up to an 11. It was way more serious than the first one, and I always enjoyed that, actually. In episode 17, you realized how difficult the odds that they're facing against Angel and Spike together with Drusilla. It really showed how Angel could get under Buffy's skin and kind of affect her in ways that Spike never could. Episode 14 is also a good one, and it's associated with that. It's the first time that we see Angel truly being evil and against Buffy, and it's all the more ravaging to find out the way Angel made Buffy find out. Well, she didn't find out in the first scene, but it was a pretty harsh scene, and yeah. Episode 21 and 22 I like to put in the same category as the finale, even if season 2 episode 21 I think differentiates itself, so you could see it either way. I consider both of them to be standouts. Episode 21 is actually a really well crafted episode, well made episode. I already touched upon this. It gave us a lot of Angel backstory, and I think I really like it because, much like in the Vampire Diaries, which came out way after this, I think when you have characters that are this old and have lived for so many years, I find so interesting to kind of get a sense for just how old they are and all the things that they lived through. And I think that's like the most interesting things, to see those flashbacks and how they came to be where they are. And we found out that Angel is, you know, he's been through a lot. I mean, he was, you know, in the streets, and he was cursed, and he was sad, and after he was murderous again, and a lot of things happened to him throughout his life, and it's great to kind of get a sense for that. Episode 22, obviously the finale had a lot happening for it, a lot of things that set up. We have Buffy struggling with her mom, we have Spike teaming up with her, which was a pretty insane surprise. The last fight with Angel, and finally we lost Angel very sadly, and I'm still undecided on how I consider that. I don't really trust shows killing off characters, if that makes sense. I have so much experiences with fantastic shows just bringing people back from the dead that I think I'll wait and see. I think that's the way to put it. Finally, my favorite episode of the season, and I'm just gonna say it, it may not be your favorite, but my favorite was episode 16, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. A great episode. It was by far the funniest Buffy episode I've seen. The concept was great. The execution was pretty good. It made us kind of explore different things with Xander's character, and also his relationship with Cordelia. But outside of that, it was really funny. It was just all good all around. I can't really explain why I like it more than the others. I just found that it's the one I was the most invested in, and filming that reaction was great, as I've told you. Now, the least favorite episodes. You see, we've had a lot of episodes, so it's kind of hard to wrap my head around all of them. I should have done my homework before. I think episode 20 was definitely not the best it could have been. I understand that they needed another filler episode, but when you have a great series of episodes like this and you're 3 episodes away from finishing the season, I really expected them to get back to the main storyline, and we got a filler episode which was okay, I guess, not great, you know. The fish monsters were pretty well made, the design was pretty interesting, but outside than that, I didn't find myself really interested in that episode much more than others which we've had the great series before, 14, 15, 16, and you know, all of them after that, except maybe 18, which could be another least favorite. I'd say the monster in the hospital was pretty scary, but it definitely was not the best or most interesting of this later season, which was awesome. I really wish I could remember all the episodes that came before, and there's probably least favorites there, but I really do not have the luxury of time to go through all of them. Some in the early seasons were not the best. I do want to say in the favorite list, I should have incorporated episode 3, I think, for the sake of having Spike around and introducing us to his character. That was a pretty good episode. A really, really good one. I feel like I may have missed some things, but I kind of have to move along since we do have a Q&A and then predictions, and I don't want this video to be way too long. I think we've discussed a lot of the main themes of this season at least. If there's really specific things you want me to talk about, just tell me in more questions and I'll do another Q&A. But we're gonna get to this Q&A, and the questions have been pretty good. I'm pretty excited to answer them, so let's move right along. Much like other Q&As, probably not all of your answers, all of your questions will be here. However, I think I may have answered them in a way in my review, or I will probably answer them in other people's questions. So anyway, I'm pretty sure you'll have an answer to all the main themes this season. So let's get right to the Q&A, and forgive me if I say your name wrong. Most of you guys who ask questions are people who are really faithful subscribers that post things on my videos all the time, and you guys are great, but I'm not used to saying your name out loud and I just read them. So forgive me if I mistakenly mispronounce your names, but let's go. Laura Sprand asks, what do you think of Joyce and her parenting skills? I make no bones about how much I hate her. And finally, have you given any thought to Kendra's death, and how did you feel about that? Well, let's start with the first questions. As you know, I've touched upon this a lot in my reactions, and I'll just be blunt with you, maybe it will offend some of you. I don't care about Joyce and her character. I don't care at all about her. I think she's not developed enough. You're not driven to care about her in any significant way. Her parenting skills, well, I think Buffy touched on that in the last episode. Her problem is she thinks she's still dealing with just a regular teenager, so when she does actual parenting, we see it as just get over yourself and, I mean, stop annoying us, you know? Just let her, Buffy, do her thing. And obviously, I know some of you I have pointed out in the past, she's a parent, she has to do this, she's just doing her job. And I understand that, it's just not the way we see it from our perspective, so she's not a beloved character at all. And in this last episode, I don't really think that kicking Buffy out of the house was a good thing to do anyhow. I think they should have probably talked about this a lot more before she put this ultimatum out there. But yeah, definitely not a favorite character, or her parenting skills for that matter. About your second question, and yes, this is a really interesting question because we've kind of brushed over that a few times, and Kendra did die, which was not really expected, really. I didn't really expect her to come back for this season final, but it was a good surprise. I think I kind of understood why they did what they did. I think Kendra was not a bad character by any means. She just had particularities about her. most notably her accent, which just it just kind of, most people didn't take her seriously because of that, unfortunately. Not that I really had any problem with it, I just think that it kind of made her character more comedic at times, and I don't think that's what they were going for. So I understood why they probably had to kill her off, which was too bad. The most interesting part of this question, however, is I'm just thinking there has to be another Slayer out there somewhere now. If I understood correctly, it's going down the line after each Slayer dies, and we probably have another Slayer now, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna meet her, or him, which would be cool. Can there be Manslayer of vampires? I don't know. I guess we'll find out, which could be really cool. Suki Galeta asks, now that you've seen the human version of Angel and Drew, I'm curious to know, how do you think the vampire version of our main characters would be? And do you think there's a possibility that one or more of them could end up turning into vampires? That's an awesome question. Pretty original question too. Let's see. Thing is, when people are turned into vampires, it's kind of hard to imagine them as not generic. I think if they didn't have a soul, they would essentially be all the same, just kind of murderous vamps. Probably maybe wouldn't be that way for other main characters turned vampires. I think QaA would make a cool vampire. I don't know if it could happen, but it has the potential to happen, and I think it'd be pretty cool to see her like that. I don't think Xander will be vampire. I don't think Willow would be a vampire either. I don't think Buffy, although maybe Buffy could be a vampire. I could see that happen at some point down the line. I would suspect if it happens, it would be way later in the show. But yeah, I think it could happen. And does that make her more strong then? Because I know she's a Slayer and she's already super strong, so does that make her stronger than other vampires as a vampire? Some cool things to talk about. Luke O'Quinn asks, Season 2 question, do you blame Angel for the actions of Angelus? In other words, do you blame Souled Angel for the things that unsouled Angel did? Pretty good question, and that's one that our main characters have faced quite often this season. And I think I touched upon this at some point. People will have very differentiating views on that. In my opinion, I don't really blame Angel for the actions of unsouled Angel, as you've put it. Simply because it's the same argument as kind of blaming someone who has a mental illness. The whole point of blaming, or the whole kind of way of blaming someone is if they actually had control and chose to do the things they did. Unfortunately, Angel had no control over what he did, so I don't really think there's any blame to be had on my part. I understand why people will say, yes, but he still did what he did, which is also true in a way. I guess you could see it like that, and I'm pretty sure Buffy saw that the same way. If there's any blame I have to be putting on Angel, I think it all depends on that moment in episode 13, I believe, where he slept with Buffy. I wonder if he actually knew what this would trigger, and if there was a possibility of that happening. And if he did know, I think it would have been a great thing for him either not to do what he did with Buffy, or to kind of warn her about the possibility of that happening. And I think that's about all the blame I put on Angel, very personally. Most of all, and I think that's the most asked questions that I've had, and you maybe thought I forgot about it, which was, what do you think about Xander's big lie? And yes, I did go back and watch the episode again, and I did realize that they didn't bring a lot of attention to it, and I completely missed it the first in my first viewing, as I've explained in a comment. It was just not really drawn out that way, but I see the issue, and I kind of understand why there is big debate upon it. So I think this kind of questions is really kind of opinion based, so that's all I'm gonna base it on, is just my opinion, my view of things. I do believe in tough love, and I do think Buffy needed that extra push I know that Xander lied, and I know that he probably did it for all the wrong reasons. Probably because he was jealous, because he was petty. In other terms, I think that's what his character is, unfortunately, at times. You could argue that Buffy could have tried to stop Angel from pulling the sword out and all that, and kind of get into the theoretically, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't think Buffy would have done what she needed to do if she knew that you know, that they were trying to get Angel's soul back. You know, I think it would have distracted her, and most importantly, she wouldn't have killed Angel, which was unfortunately necessary to save the whole world. I do think that it was pretty cruel to bring Angel's soul back to the surface a minute before she killed him. But yeah, that's my answer to this question. I don't really hate Xander particularly for that. I do think that he was doing it for his personal reasons, and that that was probably wrong in some ways. I do think it was necessary in a way also, but yeah. So I think this is all about your questions for this season. Again, thank you for asking really good relevant questions, and I hope we have a lot more like this next season. But I want to get to my predictions. And this season, I only have a few. I have 5 predictions. The first one is I think we'll be exploring more of Xander and Buffy together. And I don't necessarily mean romance, necessarily, although I feel this is the way it could go. I think they've kind of hinted at it. They've not said it anything really, they've not really put anything out there concretely. But it's been kind of hinted at in multiple instances, a lot of hugging, almost a kiss, so I think we'll be seeing more of that, or at least exploring what it means, and I'm all for Angel is out of the picture, obviously, but yeah, I'm pretty excited to find out what's gonna happen. So my second prediction is we're gonna get Spike back, and he will switch sides. Now I know this is a little out there. It may not happen at all. Maybe he's entirely gone, but I don't think it's actually the case. I think Spike is a great character, and they're not going to waste him like that, and I know he did. It's implied that he left town with Drusilla at the end of Season 2, but I think he'll be back in Season 3. And I don't think he will necessarily be a force working against Buffy directly. I think he'll be somewhere in the middle for a while, and then he'll be on our side, so to speak, at least in a way. I feel there's potential to go the way it's going to go, because it was so entertaining to watch him at the end of Season 2 that I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to treat his character in those terms, as like kind of like a anti-hero working with Buffy sometimes. And I would be super excited to see that. Again, may not happen the way I predicted, but I kind of hope it does. Third prediction, I expect Willow to do more magic. Now I know that that she did bring Angel's soul back, which is a pretty huge thing, and she did it all with magic, and there was this moment where she actually passed out and started chanting magical terms and everything, and I think that it's possibly the way her character is going. I think there is something about her exploring that, at least for a few episodes, a few seasons maybe, exploring what it is to do magic. I don't know if she's outright a witch, which we've met in this show. It's possible. I'm pretty excited to find out either way. Anyways, I expect her to do more magic, which will come in handy whenever they will need it. Next season, I also expect more deaths and even more dramatic tension. Now we've seen the way this show ended. We've seen a lot of death this season. We've seen a lot of really mature kind of content, and I expect the show to go that way again, and possibly even go the extra mile. Give us more kind of emotional kind of heartbreaks and stuff like that. I expect that's something the show could do. I expect it to be even more serious. Yeah, that's about it. Just more dramatic tension all around. So my fifth and final prediction, I expect Buffy to be different than she was in season 2. Now, as we've explored, she was kicked out of school, and she was also kicked out of her house, and it's presumed that she left Sunnydale for somewhere else. And I don't know where we're gonna pick season 3 up. Is she gonna be on her own? Is she just gonna be back in Sunnydale, and that's where we pick up season 3? I don't know, but either way, she probably will be out of Sunnydale for some time, and she's gonna explore a lot of things on her own, I suspect. And I do think that both killing Angel and also exploring that and becoming more of an adult, being on her own, will change her quite a lot, and I expect we'll find her in a way different mindset and a way different kind of condition, possibly more experience, even more badass if it's even possible. I don't know, but anyways, I'm pretty excited to find out. So guys, I'm really thankful for all your support and for getting through this season with me. I hope that you enjoyed watching this season by my side. By the end of the season, all my videos were ready, but we've suffered a lot of strikes, a lot of copyrighted content, which was reported and stopped for all the wrong reasons. I could go about this all day long because it got me really annoyed. I'm just glad that it seemed to have stopped, and we've seemed to be able to post reactions again. The copyright ID was automatic and it was blocking my videos, wrongfully so, but there was nothing that you can really blame anyone for. I mean, except YouTube for having a crappy copyright ID system. But that's all I'm gonna say about that. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching this season with me. Thank you for all your support, and watch out for my reactions for season 3. I can't get to wait to it, and see where we're going with next season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.